Data doesn't speak, but a storyteller brings it to life. A chart may show that 10,000 children die from hunger every day, but that exact number often fails to move us. Humans do not react to data, they react to people and their stories. When we say, a little girl named Samira, age 4, died in her mother's arms, suddenly the statistics come alive. Data, without a storyteller, is dry bone. It needs a soul. And the storyteller is the one who breathes life into it, with emotion, with imagery, with empathy. It's not that data lacks power, it lacks a heartbeat. And that is what a story provides. In social media, in health campaigns, in education, those who move hearts are not the ones who present numbers, but the ones who make others feel what those numbers mean. Data is the beginning of knowledge, but story is the beginning of understanding. A spreadsheet may tell us that the unemployment rate is 6.2%, but the story of a father who lost his job, his home, and his hope, that is what compels us to ask why. Data describes the world, but it doesn't explain it. The storyteller is the one who transforms numbers into context, behavior, and motivation. Through storytelling, we find causes, consequences, and most crucially, the impulse to act. Data may lead us to truth, but only stories lead us to change. A perfect report means little if it lacks a message that can be told, remembered, and believed. Humans are not analytical machines. They don't make decisions based on logic alone, they act when their hearts are moved. A 50-slide PowerPoint filled with data may earn nods, but may not change minds. One timely, well-placed story can do that in 3 minutes. That's because humans respond to emotion, imagery, and empathy. Our brains retain stories 20 times longer than numbers. That doesn't make us weak, it makes us human. For in the end, we don't live in spreadsheets, we live in memory. And memory is built from stories. Data is not truth, it is signal. And like any language, that signal needs translation. The storyteller is not a decorator, they are the interpreter who makes data audible to human minds. They know how to highlight, to pace, to frame, guiding the audience from number to meaning. A chart cannot speak for itself, but a story about that chart can move a room. Without a narrator, data is an untranslated code. Without context, figures are just isolated points. And without human connection, information is just an echo in space. The storyteller bridges the gap between structure and emotion, logic and behavior, data and humanity. Some believe, if the data is strong enough, it will speak for itself. But that's a dangerous myth. Data has no context, no awareness of its audience, and no sense of what emotions must be evoked. A disease rate is meaningless without explanation. Who is affected, why, and what it means. Strong data becomes powerful only when someone knows how to use it at the right time, in the right way. And that comes not from data science alone, but from storytelling. Storytelling doesn't distort data, it gives it life. And in a world overwhelmed by numbers, where everyone has data, it is the story that sets you apart. Humans told stories before they wrote, and wrote before they had data. This suggests that storytelling is humanity's oldest and most powerful form of information preservation. While data shifts daily, stories remain in memory. They transcend time, go beyond numbers, and reach deeper levels of identity, belief, and meaning. A market chart may become obsolete in a week, but an inspiring startup story can live for generations. Because a story doesn't just say what happened, it asks, why does this matter to me? When data ends in spreadsheets, stories live on in human hearts. In the digital age, the storyteller is no longer a novelist, but someone who can look at a spreadsheet and see a person. That person might be a journalist, a manager, or a student presenter, anyone who can connect data with life. In a world of dashboards and auto-generated reports, the storyteller builds bridges. They don't just inform, they connect hearts, open paths, and leave traces in memory. What is data if it's not retold with life? And a society that knows how to retell data is a society that can learn, remember, and change. Data can be measured, but it cannot live without a storyteller. Storytelling is the highest form of turning knowledge into awareness, information into action. The more data a society has, the more storytellers it needs. Not to beautify numbers, but to return meaning to the human behind the metric. When you tell a story from data, you are saying, I don't just analyze, I connect. I don't just understand, I want others to understand. And it is in that act that data truly speaks. The next time you present data, don't just analyze, tell. See each number as a door to someone's story. That story may shift someone's perspective. And from perspective comes action. Be the one who brings data to life, not with technique, but with heart.